July of last year, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And from then on, nothing would be the same. We missed Thanksgiving due to her cancer treatments, and our annual tradition of watching Christmas movies and decorating the tree with her ended without a word. She was no longer responding to the treatment. Then last year, to the day and to the hour, we received a call. She was gone. For most people who celebrate it, Christmas is a time of giving, a time of celebration, a time to be with family and friends. The latter more so than ever, especially for me and my family. I don't know if I can keep going with this. I mean, 12 games of Christmas, it's already a ton of work, as is just completing a bunch of games back to back. But now I'm doing this on the anniversary of my mom's death. Just, just feels morbid. Ugh. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. At least for one more year. Because I'm a man of my word and all that. But there is going to have to be a catch here. I will be spreading the remaining 10 games throughout 2026, and as such, I've decided to open the floodgates on the type of games I would be covering for this year's 12 Games of Christmas. And you may have noticed that my first two games were both NES games, and you might be thinking, am I gonna be theming this year off of Nintendo or the NES console? Good guesses, but no. My first two games being on NES was just a coincidence. For me, these 12 games are my bucket list games, as in, if this is my final year that I will be doing this, I wish for these 12 games to be my final 12 games. Unfortunately, I don't own physical copies of most of these games, so I'm gonna have to show you guys the clips here instead. Apologies in advance for the film quality of some of these. A lot of this footage was really difficult to track down. But with all that said, let's take a look at what I have in store for 2026. Get your Konami codes ready because my third game of Christmas is gonna be Contra Anniversary Collection. A collection of 10 different Contra games to perfect and complete from the arcade original to the SNES and Genesis classics, alongside arcade and regional exclusive releases like Probotector. Each game will have their own conditions for completing, but by and large, they all share a common singular goal: to beat each and every last one of these games, including Contra 3 on SNES on the hardest difficulty setting, and unlocking all 6 endings in Contra Hardcore on the Genesis. A Christmas present back in 1998 and one of my 10 favorite games of all time on my best days, Crash Bandicoot Warped had to be an absolute lock for this year's 12 Games of Christmas. Naughty Dog added in time trials on top of the normal gem and crystal acquisitions, so in order to achieve a perfect playthrough of this game, I will have to aim for the Platinum Relic in every single level in the game. Fingers crossed on this one. Must be going bananas here because after all these years, Castlevania 4 remains my only perfect playthrough of a Super Nintendo game. Well, this longtime snub ends here, as my 5th game of Christmas is none other than Donkey Kong Country on SNES. The conditions are simple. Achieve 101% completion. That means finding every secret room and exit in the game. And thankfully, I don't have to get it all done in 1 hour and on a single life, especially since such a task requires secrets breaking glitches, which is against the rules for a perfect playthrough, so jog on, Cranky. Yep, another NES collection. Don't at me, the Contra Mega Man games are awesome. But unlike the Contra Anniversary Collection, Mega Man will have access to rewind in addition to save states. And unlike Contra, there's a bit more to accomplish than merely beating each of the 6 individual Mega Man games released on NES. I will also need to complete the Art Gallery and complete every challenge in the game 100%. I doubt the added perks of rewind and save states will be of any help with these challenges, but I promise to give these 6 games everything I've got. And if I've enjoyed these 6 games enough and people request hard enough for them, I will even consider covering the other Mega Man and Mega Man X collections in future perfect playthroughs. Six games in, and we finally unveiled a Sega game for 12 Games of Christmas. Spoilers, this will be our only Sega game this year, and man, if I had to choose only one game, I'm glad it's this one. Why? Well, for 2 reasons. First, it made me want to get a Saturn for Christmas back in 1997, and my mom, may she rest in peace, shut it down quick and the game faded from my memory. But now that I'm looking to cross off a dozen titles off my bucket list, I decide now's the time to finally cross Sonic Jam off said list. Second, Sonic Jam is the last remaining Sonic game for the classic era that I've yet to cover. And while it's yet another compilation consisting of Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles, with lock-on options available and everything, each game comes with its own perks like difficulty settings or a time attack mode that requires beating their respective games first in order to fully unlock. And on top of it all, there is our first ever taste of 3D gameplay with Sonic World, a tech demo built specifically for the compilation itself, complete with missions and everything. Complete all that and we will finally bring the classic era of Sonic to a close. Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't done a Spyro game yet. Around the same time I was being introduced to Pokemon and Final Fantasy, my kid brother was getting his first video game on that fateful Christmas. Although he was still much too young to be handling video games at that time, so my sister and I wound up playing it on his behalf that year. I liked it fine back then, but my attitude towards this series had only grown exponentially with age. This is an outstanding 3D platformer, and it's one of the very few of its ilk that I actually have gotten really good at. And so, I would very much like to put my skills to the test with this game. To achieve a perfect playthrough, I'll need to create a 120% save file with 99 lives. No skill points in this version, those would be added in later in the Reignited trilogy. Oh yeah! While it wasn't a Christmas present per se, you could say that this is the game that made owning a PlayStation worth it for the whole family. And could you blame us? We only had 6 PlayStation games at the time, and none of the other games had a kick-ass opening like this one did. No Crash, Spyro, or Final Fantasy back then. The best part is that nobody knew what a memory card was or how to use one, so perfecting this game was often a family affair with the four of us teaming up to unlock all the fighters. Speaking of which, perfect playthrough conditions. Unlock all 23 characters and beat the game 25 times for 25 different endings. Tekken 2 also introduced a ton of different modes on top of arcade mode, so I'll be sure to feature them all when I get to them. After all, it ain't a perfect playthrough until we've accomplished everything the game has to offer. Just don't make me watch Angry Hihachi. Even as an adult, that shit is the stuff of nightmares. And for our final unveiling, Yu-Gi-Oh! The Early Days Collection. Yu-Gi-Oh! Used to be the single greatest thing in my life during my middle and high school years, competing with fellow classmates in their meta decks with nothing but budget options, and winning tournaments in spite of my limitations. And it's been an itch I just wasn't able to scratch, at least since the days leading up to the premiere of my Final Fantasy VII playthrough. And a big reason has to do with the relative short lifespan of Yu-Gi-Oh! Video games. Unlike the other compilations, each of these 14 titles can't be perfected in a single sitting and will require some lengthy grinds in order to accomplish. As such, this collection is a perfect candidate for this year's Groundhog Grind. And with the opportunity to clear out all the Duel Monsters era Yu-Gi-Oh! Games released on the Game Boy line of consoles, I see no reason whatsoever why this game cannot be one of my 12 games of Christmas this year. That just leaves us with these two games. Since it'll take me a year to get through all 12 games of Christmas, I'm gonna leave these two a secret for the time being. I have a general idea on what they will be, but for now, I'm gonna keep my options open. Now, as done in past years, I originally planned for all 12 of my games to be Sega games. But outside of Sonic, I found my options would have made for a rather underwhelming bucket list. Especially with Summer of Sega and Weekend Rentals both being a thing on my channel, while I'd wish to keep separate. So for this year at least, I decided to pivot 12 Games of Christmas into a year-long project, opening up my options to include any 12 games of my choosing, regardless of age or console. Having said all that, I would be remiss if I left Sega off my list entirely, with Sonic Jam being my final Sonic game from the classic era that I've yet to cover, as well as having a personal attachment to the game despite never actually played it, it made perfect sense for me to include it on this list. And so, without any pretense of suspense, my next perfect playthrough will be Sonic Jam for the Sega Saturn. So I hope you're looking forward to me bringing the classic era of Sonic to a close. I hope you're also looking forward to seeing me take on each of these games throughout 2026 and beyond. Until then, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.